The drama surrounding the Tennessee Titans versus Cleveland Browns game did not end when the clock hit 0. In many ways, that final whistle was only the beginning of a much bigger conversation, one that has now spiraled far beyond box scores and final scores and into the uncomfortable reality of how organizations develop, support, and sometimes sabotage their own talent. What should have been a straightforward rookie quarterback comparison instead exposed deep cracks inside the Browns organization and reignited serious questions about leadership, accountability, and whether Cleveland is once again on the verge of wasting a potential franchise quarterback. At the center of the controversy were comments made by Titans interim head coach Mike McCoy, remarks that immediately sent social media into overdrive. On the surface, McCoy appeared to be offering a calm, football-minded breakdown of why Cam Ward's situation worked so well for Tennessee and why winning often shapes perception. He talked about the value of the running game, protection, rhythm, and how those factors help young quarterbacks grow. In isolation, nothing he said was factually wrong. Any coach will tell you that a strong run game is a rookie quarterback's best friend. It keeps defenses honest, opens play action, and prevents a young passer from having to carry an offense on his back. But context matters, and in this case, context changed everything. When McCoy contrasted Cam Ward's situation with Shadur Sanders being forced to throw more while playing from behind, it landed less like neutral analysis and more like a subtle dismissal of what Sanders actually accomplished. Ward was operating in an offense that controlled the game from the opening drive. Tony Pollard punished the Browns' defense, the Titans stayed ahead of the chains, and Ward was rarely asked to rescue the offense. Sanders lived in the opposite reality. The Browns could not run the ball. The offensive line struggled to create lanes. Receivers fought for separation. Sanders became the Browns' leading rusher out of necessity, not design. Despite that imbalance, Sanders nearly dragged Cleveland back into a game they had no business being competitive in. 2 scoring drives in under 6 minutes. Touchdown throws under pressure. Poise when everything around him was breaking down. That performance was not flashy because of volume alone. It was impressive because it happened in chaos. When McCoy emphasized winning as the ultimate measuring stick, it felt like the circumstances that produced that loss were being brushed aside, and that is where the debate exploded. Was McCoy throwing shade, or was he simply protecting his own quarterback? The honest answer is probably somewhere in between. Coaches are wired to defend their players, especially in public. But whether intentional or not, his comments unintentionally highlighted the glaring difference between how these two organizations treat young quarterbacks. One side commits fully, builds structure, and creates margin for error. The other side hesitates, overthinks, and repeatedly pulls the rug out from under its most talented player. And that brings the spotlight back where it truly belongs, squarely on Kevin Stefanski. Everything McCoy said about young quarterbacks needing support, protection, and a run game applies directly to Cleveland, yet the Browns have done the opposite at nearly every turn. Sanders was buried on the depth chart for months. He was denied first-team reps. He was labeled a long-term project despite outperforming other quarterbacks internally. Even after forcing his way onto the field, he has been coached as if success must be rationed rather than encouraged. Nothing illustrated this dysfunction more clearly than the final 2-point conversion decision. The Browns scored late, pulled within 1 point, and faced a defining moment. Going for 2 was the correct call. The problem was everything that followed. With Sanders scorching hot, fresh off back-to-back touchdown drives, Stefanski chose to remove the ball from his hands. Instead of trusting the quarterback who had single-handedly kept the game alive, he dialed up a play for a rookie running back who had struggled all night. That decision defied logic. It defied momentum. It defied basic coaching principles. When a player is in rhythm, when confidence is surging, when the defense is reacting rather than dictating, you empower that player. You do not get clever. You do not experiment. You let your best player decide the outcome. Stefanski did the opposite, and the Browns paid for it immediately. The explanation afterward only made it worse. The play was described as perfectly designed, a supposed mismatch that should have worked. But football games are not won on whiteboards. They are won by players who have earned trust. Sanders earned that trust over the final minutes of the game, and it was taken away from him at the most critical moment. This was not an isolated incident. It has become a pattern. Red zone possessions where Sanders disappears. Goal line situations where trick plays replace simple execution. Moments that should build confidence instead create frustration. Over time, these decisions stopped looking accidental. They begin to look intentional, or at the very least, deeply insecure. What makes this even more alarming is how stark the contrast is with Tennessee. Cam Ward has been given consistent reps, structural support, and a clear identity within the offense. His development is intentional. Sanders' development feels reluctant, almost begrudging. And yet, despite that resistance, Sanders continues to produce. Imagine what his trajectory would look like in an environment designed to maximize his strengths. Imagine a season of first-team reps. Imagine red zone packages built around his decision-making. Imagine a coaching staff that rides momentum instead of suppressing it. The conversation around Sanders would be completely different. He would not be framed as a controversial rookie. He would be framed as a breakout star. Instead, the Browns find themselves defending the indefensible. Stefanski's press conferences grow more evasive. Accountability gets replaced with buzzwords. Fans grow angrier. Former players grow louder. Analysts begin asking questions that ownership can no longer ignore. Mike McCoy's comments did not create this situation. They exposed it. By highlighting how young quarterbacks thrive when supported, he inadvertently put a spotlight on how Cleveland has failed to do exactly that. Ward's success and Sanders' struggle are not reflections of talent. They are reflections of infrastructure. The most important takeaway from this entire saga is not whether shade was thrown. It is that Sanders continues to shine through dysfunction. He has shown toughness, leadership, and a rare ability to elevate broken situations. Those qualities translate anywhere. Talent like that always finds a way. The real question is whether the Browns will recognize it before it is too late. Now it's your turn. What did you take away from Mike McCoy's comments? Do you think they were subtle shade, or just standard coach speak? More importantly, do you believe Kevin Stefanski has mishandled Shadur Sanders to the point of no return? Should the Browns commit fully to Sanders and rebuild the offense around him, or is this organization headed toward another painful reset? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this breakdown hit home and you want more deep, fearless analysis that goes beyond headlines and box scores, make sure to like this video and subscribe. This story is far from over, and the next chapters could define the future of the Browns for years to come.